Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Before I Go podcast. Spring is officially here. The temperatures are rising slowly, the sun is shining, and I can literally feel the winter fog lifting from my brain. It is a great time to be alive. I've already started to clean my patio and break out the outdoor furniture, and I even bought a hammock for the backyard this year. It is the perfect place to just be outside and soak in the sounds of nature while reading a good book. I am an avid reader. I love all kinds of books, fiction, nonfiction, hardcover, paperback, not so much electronic books or audiobooks. I need to feel the book in my hand and be able to turn the pages. I love a good book. Even in a past life, I used to record online book reviews. I don't often read the same book twice, but I do like having books around. Last year, I even had to get rid of a lot of my books because it was just getting out of hand. I donated them to the book exchange and I received almost $90 in store credit. So a few weeks back, I decided to make use of that store credit and I made a trip to the book exchange and picked up a few good books to fill the long spring and summer days and nights. This year, I'm focusing on short story collections instead of novels, and I am loving it. I'm alternating between 3 collections at the moment. First, there's Midnight in Indigo, which is a collection of speculative stories by Black women writers, and it was edited by Iana A. Small. Then there's The Interpreter of Maladies, which are stories by the Pulitzer Prize winner Jhumpa Lahiri. I believe Miss Lahiri is of Indian descent, and she was born in London, England, and raised in Rhode Island. And finally, Just After Sunset by the incomparable Stephen King. In my opinion, it is quite a diverse collection of authors who are providing a very diverse collection of stories. I wanted to expose myself to as many different types of authors as possible to get me out of my comfort zone. That zone includes a lot of Terry McMillan and other fiction writers like her. If I was looking for diversity, I figured starting with a white man, an Indian woman, and 19 Black women was a good place to start. I did not know what to expect when I started reading. For example, I like Stephen King, but the last time I read one of his books, I was so scared that I could only read the book at work during my lunch break, and I would not bring the book back into my house. Even though I was terrified, I could not stop reading it. I finished it, but I don't think I picked up another Stephen King novel, and that was more than 30 years ago. That book was Pet Sematary. The short stories in Just After Sunset are nothing like that. They have a touch of mystery and drama, and some are thrilling. It's just writing done really well. The Interpreter of Maladies is also a collection of stories that are just written well. Each time I finish another story, I just shake my head and wish that I could write like that. The author makes me care about her characters, like really care about them. I can even identify with them and their stories. When I started reading the stories in Midnight in Indigo, I think I was the most surprised. First of all, once I started reading, I realized I had no idea what speculative fiction was. And for those of you who don't know, speculative fiction is defined as a broad category of fiction encompassing genres with elements that do not exist in reality, recorded in history, nature, or the present universe. Such fiction covers various themes in the context of supernatural, futuristic, and other imaginative realms. Wow. So I'm reading a genre that I don't have any interest in whatsoever. And that's not really a problem. As I said, I wanted to expose myself to as many different authors as possible. It just wasn't what I was expecting. What also surprised me was that I thought I would enjoy this collection of stories the most because they're written by Black women. And I'm a Black woman. That isn't exactly the case. We're not all the same. I'm having a harder time getting into these stories because it isn't a genre that I would normally gravitate toward. The stories are good, don't get me wrong, these women are talented. But when I finish a story, I don't think to myself, man, I wish I could have written that. I'm usually thinking, that was weird. And that's okay. Honestly, I think any reaction is okay. Good stories should evoke some sort of emotional response. So far, I've read 7 of the 19 stories, and I have to say, one story in particular entitled Come Wander With Me by Wednesday Heron really moved me. It was a beautiful story and worth the price of the book, in my opinion. Again, we are not all the same, but that doesn't mean that we can't acknowledge and appreciate the differences that we have. I believe that once we acknowledge and appreciate our differences, then we have the freedom to go even deeper and see the similarities. Not only see them, but appreciate them as well. In this way, we can learn to stop othering people. And once you're able to stop seeing people as other, your entire perspective on humanity will change. This is one of those times when 2 things can be true at the same time. We are not the same, but we have similarities. I want to challenge you. The next time you encounter someone who has a different opinion than you, before you judge them, make an effort to look for what you may have in common with them and respect them for that. Even if it is just the fact that you're both human beings with thoughts, feelings, and emotions. You never know what someone is going through, so allow grace to lead you. This realization hit me during my morning run, and once it did, I was excited to continue reading Midnight and Indigo, and The Interpreter of Maladies, and Just After Sunset, in my hammock on a warm spring evening. Well, that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for listening. But before I go, let me share this with you from Audre Lorde. It is not our differences that divide us. It is our inability to recognize, accept, and celebrate those differences. I'll see you next time.